All right, so we do have Dr. Sal Giorgianni. He's in pharmacology. That was his life story, and he's done a lot in his life, and he's still kicking butt. He does a lot of work now with the Men's Health Network. Was at Columbia University doing many things there also, and the list goes on and on. Sal Giorgianni, thanks so much for coming on. Really appreciate your time.
My pleasure, Robert. I appreciate you having me on today.
All right, so Doc, let's start off talking about you're involved with that Men's Health Network. We do have a lot of men that do listen to our conversations throughout the year. So talk about the Men's Health Network and why you got involved in it.
I tell you, Rob, it's a passion of mine now. Well, the Men's Health Network has been around for about 27 years. It's the oldest and largest men's health organization that looks at the comprehensive health and wellness of men and boys. We do educational programs. We used to do screening, and we're getting back to doing that now that the world has changed again and gone back to a saner level of things. We also do advocacy and work in Capitol Hill, in DC, and in state legislatures to get policies, procedures, regulations that all favor and help guys come to health. We look at the comprehensive health of men and boys. We're not disease specific, but we look at everything comprehensive. And we like to bring our programs and say that we bring healthcare to where men and boys live, work, play, and pray. My involvement with Men's Health Network, I'm senior science advisor there, quasi-volunteer, and I've been working with them off and on, mostly on these days, for about 15 years, and it's been an adventure. And one of the reasons I feel so passionately is not because I have three young sons, and not because I have four younger grandsons, but because when I look at the statistics about the health of men and boys in America, it's really a tragedy. Of the 10 leading causes of death in the United States, Robert, men lead in 9 of them by substantial margins. When you look at the lifespan, the longevity, expected lifespan of men compared to women in the US, in the 1920s, it was about even, maybe a year longer for women. And a lot of that was because men were engaged in pretty dangerous activities like mining and factory work. But now, advanced with all the technology and everything we have in the States, the longevity of men now has declined to 6 years less than that of women, mostly from preventable causes. So it really is a tragedy which is happening. Men need to pay more attention to their health. And one of the things Men's Health Network tries to do is help them understand just how to do that.
I want to get more deep into this, but just to kind of backtrack in general, there's a lot of issues with men. I hear the colon cancer issue as a big issue for men. And we have seen in the past few years, Yahoo News just came out with an article saying that men between 18 to 35, they're getting a lot of these cancers extremely early. We've heard a lot about these turbo cancers in the past couple of years now, that they're getting cancers now out there and they're starting at 3 or 4. I was just talking to a guy that I was friends with. He's 50 years old. He was at stage 3 colon cancer, didn't even know it. Just went in for a checkup and they said, boom. They said, we got to try to take care of this. Otherwise, you're going to be in some serious, have some serious issues to be nice.
Well,
Yeah, go ahead. I just want to start with colon cancer because I know that's a big one for men. And if you're, what should men do? Obviously, get checked, but is it diet? What is it?
well, some cancers are there is no one thing in cancer. There is no one reason that any particular type of cancer, or generally speaking, any one particular type of cancer exacerbates or, expresses itself. But a lot of it is based on lifestyle and health. So I think the old adages, I did a program the other day on longevity and what leads to longer life. And, the biggest secret about living longer is that there is no secret. It's doing all the things that we know we need to do. Exercise, eat appropriate diets, get out in the sun, uh, have a good mental outlook on things, not in imbibing toxins, whether it's alcohol, illicit drugs, or anything else. That's something you need to be very, very cautious about. Get regular visits. You know, that women, and one of the things that we believe drives this poor health for men is that women have about twice as many primary care visits in a year, excluding GYN visits for sexual health or for reproductive health. If we exclude all those, women still have twice as many visits as men do to primary care for checkups. So get checkups. By age 27, the systems start to decline in your body. So that doesn't mean you're over the hill at 27 now instead of 50 or 60, but it does mean that you have to be extra careful about checking everything and listening to your body, if you will. So for colon cancer, certainly a proper diet is terribly important. And all too many men engage in, because we're running here or running there, or we're at sports events or this or that, engage in too much processed food, too much fast food, too much food with not enough fiber in it. So certainly adjusting your diet is one of the very important things that can be done to prevent colon cancer. Toxins, alcohol abuse, that also can be a trigger. But then also genetics. I went to school with a fella when I was doing my graduate work at Columbia University. He was a public health person from the Czech Republic, and he believed everything was genetic. And I kind of differ with him. I think it's kind of a blend between genetics and lifestyle. But if you have a history of colon cancer in your family on either side, maternal or father side, you really need to be extra special careful to have that checked annually, particularly when you're in your 40s and up. The gentleman you described, he is very fortunate that it was caught, because for all too many men, they just do not go to the doctor until they go see a urologist when they're starting to have problems associated with urinary frequency or BPH. So, you know, that good lifestyle really does matter.
Yeah. So, you know, for that guy that was 50, as I just spoke to you about, Doc, he had to have, if he's in almost stage 4, he was in stage 3 to be correct, but he was probably moving very close to stage 4. He had to have had colon cancer, the issue, for quite a while before 50. We're talking about could have maybe even started in his late 30s.
Yeah, it is quite possible. I try to refrain from second guessing diagnoses in situations such as this, because I don't have any information about him.
Right, yeah, you don't know the person. Yeah. Right.
But it would be, if he had been seeing a physician regularly, the chances are very good that he would have had recommended a very simple home test that can be done to catch colon cancer.
Talking about the Cologuard.
Was that yeah, that's one of them.
Cologuard, yeah.
There's other tests more specific, but I do, you know, I don't know if he had been seeing a physician before he had symptoms that drove him to see someone. But usually what we hear is that symptoms appear, guys try to fix it, they try to ignore it, they try to make believe if they don't hear about it, it's going to go away. And then again, unlike women, guys wait much longer into the disease process, or when they feel something's not right, they wait much, much longer, on average 3 years. For example, in diabetes, men go in 3 years later on average to get medical care for something we all know is very dangerous, diabetes. So men wait a lot longer. And that's also something that's really important. So whether it's for colorectal cancer, whether it's for prostate cancer, pulmonary conditions, migraine, whatever, high blood pressure, symptomatology of high blood pressure, listen to your body. Guys have to listen to their body. Take a page out of the Women's Health Playbook, listen to your body, and get it checked. Men's Health Network, by the way, has an absolutely fabulous free material on its website, www.menhealthnetwork.org, menshealthnetwork.org. It's called Get It Checked. And what it does, Rob, is it lays out very easy to understand format by age, the types of things guys need to do to, check and make sure that all systems are go.
Yeah. And I
Again, check.
think it is really important to get this done. Again, Dr. Sal Giorgianni here on Fire Breathing Rob. Again, the Men's Health Network. Definitely check it out. It's definitely worth it. Men or woman. If there's a woman listening to this, you have a man in your life, a boyfriend, a husband, a father, whatever it may be, a brother, you should be talking to them too and waking their butt up and tell them they better get their act together or else they'll be 6 feet under and they won't be around. Let's talk a little bit more about the health issues in men that you believe that we should really look into. I know you dove into colon cancer a lot with me bringing that up. You dabbled into prostate cancer too, as far as worrying about that. What other issues? Obviously, obesity is the big issue too.
Obesity, particularly now in younger individuals. And when you look at, you alluded to some of the earlier recognition, earlier diagnoses of cancer, colon cancer, and other types of cancers. I think some of that is probably likely to or linchpinned along with the obesity problems that we're seeing in young men and young women. We hear a lot in the media about body image in women, body shaming women, but do you know that most people don't realize that men present with obesity, much more than women do, and present with body image concerns much more than women do. Right. So I think it's, it is a problem in guys. Obesity certainly is there. The top three killers are diabetes, hypertension, and cardiovascular disease.
This is strictly for men, just for people listening.
Say it again, please, sir.
No, it's strictly for men. The hypertension, when you were
just those are the top three killers across
the spectrum. Okay.
Men and women. Yeah, it's a higher death rate for those in men. They die earlier from those things in general because they seek care later on when it's harder to treat. Right. But women also, when you look at the aggregate number, diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and heart disease, those are the three killers. COVID now ranks about sixth. So we're spending a lot of energy and public focus and information on COVID. It's still a dangerous thing. It really is, but it's not the most dangerous thing that people have to deal with. They are, again, the top three killers that we've been traditionally fighting: cancer, diabetes, heart disease, cardiovascular disease.
Well, the COVID issue is a lot of it is the obesity and the comorbidities in general. And if people were taking care of themselves, they wouldn't be dealing with COVID. That would just be like a drop in the bucket for the majority of people. Obviously, there may be one or two people that might have a very serious case, as we have seen with the people with long COVID. But for the majority of people, when they got it, if they were had some good health outlook in their life throughout, before I should say getting COVID, then they were pretty much fine. The people that had issues with long COVID or COVID in general were the people that were obese, overweight in general, or they had some sort of comorbidity. So it's very easy to solve these problems. It's if you want to take an initiative and research and look at what's being put into your body, what chemicals are in the food, the chemicals in the water. This is easy stuff. But a lot of people are, as you just stated, Doc, a little while ago, a lot of people are go, 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 and they just don't really care. It's just, I got a chicken sandwich at McDonald's, and grilled chicken is better than a hamburger at McDonald's. They're all factory farmed. They're all got chemicals. They're all garbage. It doesn't matter if it's grilled chicken or a hamburger.
Yeah, I have always been a proponent of a relatively healthy lifestyle. That doesn't mean you have to go vegan. It doesn't mean you have to restrict everything that you like or that tastes good. You don't have to forego pasta, God forbid, a good Sicilian boy like me forsakes pasta and red sauce. But you do have to be as my grandmother from Sicily would say, everything in moderation. You
Right.
do have
It's
to have a
self-control.
moderate
It is self-control, Doc.
yeah, well, that's we look at all these uh, anti-obesity medicines coming out
Yeah.
in the market now that are all the rage and helping people lose weight. One of the primary reasons they help you lose weight is they cause you to eat less. So you could eat pretty much anything you want, but you don't eat much of it. You eat maybe, say, folks tell me, maybe a third of what I used to eat. And it's true. If you talk to dietitians and you ask, what's the average serving size of pasta? What's the average serving size of hamburger meat, chicken, lean chicken? It's far, far less than the average size that we have. What's the average serving of soda? Some dietitians will say zero, but most will
Right.
say, 3 to 4 ounces. So if you look at the size that is recommended as a healthy portion of food, these weight loss drugs, in large part, work because they kind of cause your system to move in the direction of just consuming that small portion of food. So it's a chemical way of doing that great exercise at the table, push away from the table. So, you can do that on your own. I do not belittle people who can't. I do feel that these weight loss management drugs have a role to play, just as diabetes medications have an important role to play. We used to say, well, diabetes can be controlled just by sheer willpower. That's really not practical. We would say the same thing for cholesterol. We'd say the same thing for hypertension. But sometimes you need some medications. But still, you need to have a healthy diet.
Yeah. But Dr. Giorgianni, you are in the same ballpark as me that a lot of this is if you do your research on what you're putting in your body, then you should be somewhat in better shape than if you just eat whatever and don't really give a damn about what you're eating. Because again, I'm going back to the chemicals in the food, the water. I mean, I was just talking to a guy from France last night. We did an interview and he was from New Jersey. I said, "Why did you move to France?" He said, "I moved there because, I love the culture." And he said, "Because the food is tremendous over here." I said, "Really?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "It doesn't have all the additives and all the crap that's in the American food." And I've heard that from many different people that are American that have gone over there on vacation, that live there, and people that are foreigners that have come over to this country and spoke about it, is that we have so much gobbledygook nonsense in our food and it's making us sick and it's contributing to making us have these diseases and getting them at a faster rate than maybe we would get if not all this crap was in our food and on our water, and the list goes on and on.
And that starts at an early age. Men's Health Network
Right.
encourages dads to be the kind of role models in taking care of yourself, watching how you eat, knowing what is useful food and what's not useful food, and passing that on to your kids. You just can't tell your kids get healthy, Johnny or Jane, and then go and eat McDonald's 3, 4 times a week because you're running here and there. You have to maybe roast a chicken at home and bring your own chicken sandwiches from real chickens. They don't have to be organic chickens, just real chickens you're cooking at home, et cetera, et cetera. So there's lots of ways you can do that. But we do have actually some information at Men's Health Network on brochures that talk about how dads can work with their children on healthy nutrition.
I want to go into a couple of questions again. Dr. Sal Giorgianni here on Fire Breathing Rob. Definitely check more about him. Men's Health Network, check more into that. Again, whether you're a man or a woman, check it out. Dr. Sal, let's go into this because we have quite a few audience questions. I do want to dive a little deeper in the last question on men. As far as men, obviously, we always think about exercising, eating correctly. We've talked about that a lot throughout this interview today. What other ways would you tell men that are listening to stay healthy?
Well, certainly getting sunlight. We know that men, well, with poor diet, unfortunately, tends to come low levels of essential minerals, vitamins, So trying to correct your diet, I think, is a very important part of it. Most American diets are generally vitamin deficient for various reasons. And they're not particularly well balanced. We're not, as a culture, uh, developed as the Mediterraneans are, where they look at a Mediterranean diet, which is a pretty healthy diet. If you want to change your diet plans, that's a good one to look at. But I do think vitamins and nutritional products are very good products. Vitamin D, we're seeing, is more and more important for many, many reasons that I have traditionally believed. I take 5,000 units of vitamin D a day. My wife is on 50,000 a week because that's what she wants to do, but it's fine. She can do it. So I think that is one of the other things you need to do. You need to read about your health. And that doesn't mean, and I hope I'm not going to get in trouble saying that doesn't mean just reading Men's Health magazine, which tends to look at the physicality and sexuality aspects of health, which are important. Believe me, they are very important. But you really should be looking at good quality information from good quality resources, whether you want to look at Cleveland Clinic, WebMD, or place Mayo
A
Clinic,
Men's Health Network.
Men's Health Network. Well, that comes in there too, of course. Healthy Men Inc. or whatever the good sites are. And fads are fads. I think anybody who is my age understands that fads come and fads go, but the things that sustain, as I said earlier, there's no secret to long life because the secret is out there. Healthy living, good nutrition, exercise, things in moderation. Make sure you have appropriate vitamin complements and appropriate levels of fiber in your diet as well. Those are all important, and exercise, of course.
When I talk about the healthcare system, we've all been alive in the past 3 years. It's been a real travesty, but it was a travesty even before that. We just saw the crumbling in person the past 3 years. Can you talk about how broken the healthcare system is, especially nowadays? You know, as a person that has had an injury 2 years ago, I've talked to many people that have injuries like mine, but also in general that have just tried to get regular doctor's appointments, 6 month waits, 12-month waits. I remember where they used to say the Canadian healthcare system was a joke, and they say people would have to wait like 12 months. We're seeing that now here. So it's all, I feel like, just a joke in general as far as the healthcare system is. And I'm sorry, with me and a lot of other people that I've spoke with, they don't even trust their doctors anymore because of what's happened in the past 3 years. And they're moving more to functional medicine now. I'm seeing a lot of
Yes.
people move to functional medicine because they don't trust their doctors.
And that's perfectly legitimate. Many physicians, osteopaths, medical doctors, even pharmacy doctors are moving into functional healthcare, functional nutrition. And I think that's perfectly appropriate. Those folks understand organic disease and pathophysiology, and it's not witchcraft. It's functional. It's helping the body function properly to keep you from getting in trouble. But when I hear the term healthcare system and U.S., it's sort of like military intelligence. It doesn't necessarily have a great equation there. So I always like to think of it. Somebody once said, "What system, Sal?" We have no system in the U.S. It's sort of fractionated care. It's all over the place. It's whatever payers are we paying for, whatever health insurance you've got. There are so many things that are leading to the decline of healthcare and the frustration of people who do want to get health care. One of the greatest, or two of the greatest tragedies, casualties, if you will, from the COVID experience were the loss of patient autonomy, or the attempt to lose patient autonomy so that someone is going to take control of your life and you can't have a say in what you're going to do. Your body's not yours. And the other is this huge distrust in the structure of science in the U.S., organized science. The other thing that happened was many providers had to close their offices. They went into large healthcare companies, for-profit companies, to practice because they couldn't keep their independent practices open during the 2 to 3 years of lockdowns, which was far too long for the pandemic. And then we also have seen this huge decline in patients' ability to care for themselves during the COVID crisis. So they weren't able to get previously controlled chronic conditions, such as the top three killers: diabetes, heart condition, cardiovascular, and cancers. They weren't able to keep them under control because they couldn't get into offices to have regular tests, or they were so scared to go out, they didn't go, especially the frail and the elderly who needed more. So, we're going to have some very dire consequences on the physical health side, I think, for another several years. I don't know whether it's 5 years or decade, but certainly one of the effects of this COVID is the long-term effect on the overarching health and wellness of Americans. In fact, Robert, the lifespan of all Americans in the past 3 years has declined. It's never been seen since the 1970s, a decline in overall longevity in the American public. And that's including all this technology we have. So it's really a dilemma. The other is the effects of isolation on young folks and on older folks as well.
Yeah.
I remember, early on in the pandemic, before we figured out what was going on, my wife and I were just so desperate to see our children, our grandchildren, that my son-in-law drove his pickup truck over, parked it in the driveway, and the kids sat up on a pickup truck, and my wife and I sat in the garage, and we had a conversation for half. It's fine, but we were lucky we were able to do that. Not everyone could. So I think the impact on our emotional health has been absolutely devastating. And when you look at all of the problems that children are having now in the early grades of school, in primary school levels, and in high school levels, and how many high school individuals in the junior and senior year were robbed of some very important and rich interactions that would help shape their early college years. It is simply devastating and a crime. We're not going to get out of that for a long while now. So I think kids who are entering maybe the fifth grade, they probably were a little bit distanced from it, but we're going to have this whole generation of people who are in maybe the sixth grade, seventh grade through college in 22, 20, 21, 22, and early part of 23, who are just had their socialization structure, their ability to create friendships just devastated. You know that only 25% of Gen Z persons, and this is not just guys, but it's guys and gals, say they have no friend.
Yes.
No one.
But that's particularly for men too. There's an issue with men that's even worse than women as far as that goes.
Yeah, men do have social interactions, or they're a little different than women do. But men have been driven even further down, and a lot of it is because with all of the social commentary on relationships between men and women, girls and boys, even my grandson, 23-year-old grandson, he said, "Grandpa, I don't even know how to ask a girl out without getting in trouble." So a lot of young men don't know how to socialize with women, young women, and that is a real problem for them. That drives them even deeper into, a lot of other issues, including pornography and isolation. Very unhealthy. So I think you talk about long COVID for individuals who've had COVID and the secondary effects that can have on the system. But the other long COVID is the impact that COVID is going to have in the long run on that very lost generation of 14 to 22 years olds that fell into that 2020 to 2023 category. It's going to be devastating, and some of them are just not going to ever really socialize properly.
I do agree with you, Dr. Sell. I do think there's another issue there that doesn't even have anything to do with COVID as far as the guys asking the girls out. I think You know, when I grew up in school, there was none of the craziness in the schools like there is now. There wasn't all this, and I know we're going to get in trouble by some people listening. There wasn't the issue with women that wanted to be men and men wanting to be women and all this other gobbledygook nonsense going on in the schools and the society. And it's gotten a lot worse. And regardless of how old you are, going into the dating game as a guy trying to pursue a woman, it's really tough because as a person that's in that game, I see a lot of women that are looking for money and they'll send you pictures of them naked and they want money back, and that's all they're looking for is to make money off men. And then men that are doing that, we're also seeing a lot of women that want to run the whole show and they don't want the men to do anything. They want the men to be simpy and just follow their lead. I thought a relationship was 50-50, but apparently with some of these women, it's not. It's their show or no show. And that's really a lot of what's going on, and it's very sad. And that's due to social media. That's due to the celebrities in society. That is due to pornography, too, as you stated. And I think that's also an issue that has even nothing to do with COVID, that just came about before COVID.
Yeah, the social media. I don't want to say it's an evil because believe me, I wouldn't be having a good conversation with fire breathing Rob tonight if it wasn't for some of this marvelous technology. And I love my iPhone. It's a great little tool here. But as with any technology, going back to fire, bows and arrows, metals,
There's
you
got
go
to
back.
be some guardrails.
It's what's up.
I said there has to be some guardrails, Doc.
Right. There has to be the most uncommon commodity of common sense. So I think any technology can be abused. I do try to stay in the medical side of things, but I think on the medical side, when you look at the impact this has on the complexity of society now, the overlay of social media, the impact of COVID, we have a scenario now that the healthcare providers are just not equipped to deal with.
Doc, I want to get into this because the healthcare system, as we just spoke about, is a mess. And I know people have different opinions on what's a mess in it. How do we fix it, or can we fix it at all?
Boy, if I knew that, I would certainly write a book, and it would be a bestseller. I think first thing is that there has to be a recognition that what we've been doing and the way we've been doing it in the past, particularly the past 10 years, hasn't worked. And we have to reconsider virtually every aspect of healthcare and healthcare reimbursement, access issues, the way we train providers, the breadth and scope of healthcare providing that we have. We were just talking a little bit about mental health. That's a huge issue now, but there's no number of mental health providers that can meet the current need, let alone the need in the future. So I think there has to be a top to bottom review of healthcare financing, as well as the goals. But a lot of it has to be education of young children. And I don't mean indoctrination education. I mean certainly the education of children at home, at the home level, about what it means to be in good health. It's not just the absence of disease. It's being healthy, happy, focused, and having healthy relationships. That has to come at the home. One of the things that concerns me terribly, Robert, is when we start to have the conversation about single payer healthcare again and federalized healthcare as a possible solution, that people recognize that as, I think, a very dangerous gambit. We have seen what federalized healthcare might look like during COVID.
Yeah. Loss
of patient autonomy, public health bureaucrats running and managing your healthcare, lack of autonomy. You, instead of educating, persuading, and then having the patient participate in the conversation. The healthcare treatments that are prescribed or given or denied will come by dictum and with penalties. You lose your job, you lose your license, you lose your career if you don't do what the
Government.
the naysayers say. So I think when we have the conversation about single payer healthcare, folks in the country need to remember what it looked like under COVID, where you had governors, senators, and all sorts of politicians telling you how to treat a medical condition. And I'll be darned if I'm going to have those same people tell folks how to treat diabetes, high blood pressure, or cancer. It just shouldn't be doing that. But I think there is no quick fix. It may sound, I don't know what the solution is. People have been trying to find a good solution for eons, but I do believe part of that solution is the role of parents in educating their children.
I just want to push back as far as, getting to the kids at an early age. The problem with that is you go into the schools, the food is crap, and then the kid, maybe their friend is eating McDonald's or eating candy, Skittles, and whatever it may be. And Skittles are about to be banned in this country because of all the red dye 40 and all the other crap that's in all these candies and stuff. So it's very hard because they target the kids at the young age. I'm sure you remember this. McDonald's used to have the playpens. So the kid wants to go in there and play in the playpen, and then he wants McDonald's. I know that is with the parents that they have to stand up and fight against this, but a lot of parents, unfortunately, don't have the cojones to tell their kid, listen, you can cry, pout, yell, scream, whatever the hell you want to do. You're not going to McDonald's and playing the playpen. We're not playing that out. You can play outside with sticks or kickball or baseball or basketball, but we're not doing the McDonald's deal. And a lot of parents, like I said, they don't have the cojones to stand up to their kids. They let the kids run wild. I see it at Disney. I see it everywhere.
Well, yes, I mean, it is.
But they do target the kids is what I'm getting to in the commercials and all this stuff.
I certainly don't think education about health and welfare is the total domain of people in schools, certainly not in the commercial world. But as I said a couple of times, I hope I didn't miscommunicate, but I hope I was clear that I think that good parenting and helping kids in their home life understand what good health is and how to have good nutrition and how to get good checkups and how to have good mental attitudes and how to get exercise and how to build friendships. That's kind of come from parents. Right. But I don't think schools are necessarily equipped to do it. I think that their job is
they can't even teach.
Not living education. Exactly. It's certainly, while I love, to watch commercials on TV, they are not educational tools for children. I'll also mention one other thing. When you look at the commercials on television about health and wellness, the targets are almost 70 to 80% women and girls. There are very, very few commercials for good, healthy products, services, medications, etc., targeted to men and boys. It's part of why men and boys feel that health is not their responsibility, it's a woman's responsibility. Many commercials now that talk about health, insurance, or products, the woman is the prompter to get the good thing or do the right thing or get the right medication or go, not the guy. The guy is sort of at best a passive passenger and at worst portrayed as a foolish individual who was pretty clueless. So I think also commercials have a role. Advertisers have a role in helping men understand that they are part of their own healthcare, that they have to step up and take care of themselves. All of the healthcare advertising, healthcare education can't be geared to just women. I saw a recent advertisement for a new vaccine for RSV, which affects older folks dramatically, and it's a new vaccine, it was all women.
Yeah.
Women physicians, women pharmacists, women patients, no mention of men. If you didn't know better, you'd think that RSV was something that only women got. So I think we have to get one of the other things that will help boys understand their role is to educate through proper commercials. So it's not the best education, but it is a role model.
Dr. Sal Giorgianni here on Fire Breathing Rob. How can people find more about you and your work in general?
Well, me, not important. The work is the thing. And they can go to the organization, Men's Health Network, and we have all social media accounts, but there's a lot of wonderful, mostly free information at www.menshealthnetwork.org, www.menshealthnetwork.org. Information for guys, information for the women in their lives who love them, a lot of valuable information, and even information about how women can help guys get to better health. So I think it's a very valuable resource, and I'm very happy to be affiliated with Men's Health Network.
Dr. Sal Giorgianni here on Fire Breathing Rob. Doc, thanks so much for your time today. I appreciate it.
My pleasure, Robert. Thank you, and have a good rest of the week.